morning, everyone. It is Thursday, March 24th. In this podcast, we are going to speak a little bit about the Antarctic Heat Dome that developed seemingly last week. It's not 100% clear what the dates were, since many of the days which are being used don't have dates. But on the AccuWeather.com, the climatology chart does show the actual dates ranged from March 17th to March 20th. It's really March 17th through March 21st, but the warmest day being March 18th. Normal high for the Russian station VOSTOK is 65 degrees below zero during that period, and temperatures hit 0 degrees over there. It went 65 degrees above normal. That would be equivalent to temperatures hitting 96 degrees here in Chicago in January. It also broke the all-time March high by 27 degrees, as the previous all-time March high was 27 degrees below zero in Fahrenheit. That would be equivalent to temperatures reaching 132 degrees in the Chicago area. You go up to 132 degrees in the month of July. Or would also be equivalent to temperatures going into the mid-90s in the month of January. At the Russian station, there was not an all-time high which occurred. However, about 350 miles away from the station, there was a station run by Italy and France. An all-time high occurred over there. Temperature hit 10 degrees Fahrenheit. That also was about 65 degrees above normal. The normal high is 56 degrees below zero. That was an all-time high over there, and that's really remarkable considering the fact that it's March. So the warmest months of the year are December and January. That's when you have 24 hours of sunlight. March, you're losing about 25 minutes of daylight a day, and then the sun sets towards the end of March, and especially by the Russian station, the sun sets completely by the month of May. But already by the end of March, we're looking at daylight just 12 hours, and the sun's angle is very low. The peak angle over there is 23.5 degrees. You know, in Chicago, it's about 25 or 30 degrees at the weakest time of the year. And at this point, it's already, if you're looking at 78 degrees north, so you would subtract, it would be 12 degrees. That's the highest, 12 degrees up into the sky. You know, the equator this time of the year would be about 90 degrees right over your head. This is 12 degrees. That's it. So it's very low in the sky, and the daylight is about 12 hours long. It's really basically what it is at sunrise. I don't know what it is here in Chicago at sunrise, but that's about what it is, and temperatures made it all the way up there. Now, here's what happened. This is how it happened. Something very similar happened in the North Pole. The exact same thing, actually, in terms of the weather conditions that brought about the warmth. An atmospheric river developed on Tuesday last week, about March 14th, moved into East Antarctica. Now, it moved into East Antarctica, bringing heavy rain and heavy snow. But the areas which got the heavy rain, about an inch of rain, this area is one of the largest and driest deserts in the world. It also receives the most sunshine in the world, actually, believe it or not, in the months of December and January, about 22.9 hours a day. There's barely any clouds over there during December and January. This atmospheric river came in at the same time there was a dome of heat, a blocking high pressure system. It's being referred to as a dome of heat, but it's much different. It seems like it's much different than the domes of heat that we're used to here in the United States. Tons of moisture was inside this dome of heat, and it radiated the warmth from the moisture radiated downward. And there's actually a scientific term for that, which I don't know. You can look it up. What the scientific term for that is. It's something that we don't hear about here in the United States too much, but that's what brought all the warmth there. So it really wasn't so much the sun at all. It obviously wasn't the sun. The sun isn't doing much this time of the year at all. In the station 350 miles away, that was an all-time high of 10 degrees Fahrenheit. So to have an all-time high when we don't have anything equivalent to that here in Chicago. We have our all-time high occurred in the month of July, but to say if our all-time high occurred 2 months after July in the month of September, that also would not be equivalent, because the difference between the solar insolation that hits Chicago in July compared to September is very significant, but it's nothing. The solar insolation at the South Pole and the North Pole are higher than any other place in the world in the months in their summer months, especially the month of June at the North Pole and the month of July in the South Pole. There's more solar insolation anywhere, and it goes way down. There's much more solar insolation there than even Miami Beach. If you look up at the charts, that's the solar insolation. It combines how much sun, even taking into consideration how low the sun is in the sky, but that combined with the 24 hours day, when you put the two together, you're still looking at higher solar insolation there than Miami. But by mid-July already, the solar insolation, because the sun's angle is so low in the sky, even though the days are still 24 hours long, there actually is more solar insolation in places like South Florida, or it's certainly very close. By September, it's way down over there. So it's very different. Even in Chicago, it would be a real shocker to have an all-time high in the month of September. But it's totally different. It's over there. It's really something remarkable, totally remarkable. Scientists are saying this is something that they would have said is impossible to happen. It's not possible for this to happen until it actually happened. So now that it happened, but they still think it was impossible to happen. They also say climate change cannot explain this. This is just too remarkable for climate change to explain this. It's a very extreme weather event. We're looking at, again, 10 degrees Fahrenheit for the all-time high, which is occurring in the month of March. Some of the computer models show that some areas had temperatures 90 degrees above normal in those areas. But in terms of the actual thermometers that are over there, it seems like the peak was 67. Well, the Washington Post reports 69 degrees above normal in some locations. There are some indications, however, that from satellite imagery that temperatures may have been 90 degrees above normal in some spots. This is something which they say climate change does not explain it. At the same time, some feel that climate change may have something to do with it, and we might be in for more things like this if climate change continues. That's something phenomenal that's going on in the world. Let's get back to our country over here. Here in the United States, we have a heat wave developing off in the desert Southwest. Temperatures in the upper 80s to low 90s are expected in Los Angeles over the next 3 days. Peak heating is expected to occur on Shabbos for many areas. Phoenix, Arizona, record high temperature of 100 degrees for Shabbos. The forecast high in the upper 90s. It's going to come very close. But on Friday, the record might be beaten as record highs are only in the mid-90s. High temperatures are also forecast to go into the mid-90s for Phoenix. In Yuma, Arizona, however, the record might be beaten on Shabbos, as the record high over there is only 99 degrees. Forecast high also upper 90s. Temperatures remain in the mid-90s on Sunday before cooler conditions come in as the Pacific low moves on to the west coast. All of that warmth moves east and heads even into Nebraska, South Dakota, reporting temperatures in the low 80s by Monday for extreme South Dakota. We're also looking at Wyoming, record warmth for many of those locations, especially on the Colorado River Valley. Even some of that goes into Arizona as well. Record warmth is expected. Temperatures going into the 80s over parts of Nebraska. Scottsdale, Nebraska, upper 70s, says National Weather Service. Other forecasters say highs in the low 80s. Temperatures going well into the 90s for Texas. We'll for sure see some counties. Because of how dry it is, there'll be great variability in terms of how high those temperatures will go. It's not going to be like Florida, where there's only a 2 to 3 degree difference between a forecast high in some of the cities and between what actually occurs. We're looking probably will have the hottest temperatures in the United States. Will be in the hundreds for the next several days, especially starting Shabbos, probably even Friday as well, because we're dealing again with the dry heat. Temperatures are forecast to go in the mid and upper 90s for Wichita Falls, Texas. Highs in the low to mid 90s. Rio Grande Village, Texas, mid and upper 90s. It would not be surprising to see a 100-degree temperature over there, along with Falcon Lake, Texas. That's also a hot spot. High temperatures mid and upper 90s. These 90s move again into the area Monday, but also remain there for Tuesday, but generally 80s. Might be a few 90-degree temperatures in Oklahoma as well. South Kansas could expect record warmth as well. This record warmth then gets combined with moisture, and then those temperatures go way down. As it moves east, temperatures drop into the 70s. But the warmth hits the Midwest, for southern Midwest, by Tuesday. Warmer air also moves into the Chicago area around that time, Tuesday and Wednesday, but the record warmth remains There is no more record warmth by that time, but even the warm temperatures, the peak warmth, will remain south of Chicago. Temperatures might not even make it into the 60s. It's not clear. National Weather Service feels there will be a warming trend here in Chicago. We have two different computer models showing a storm track. One shows the storm track will be quite intense. The GFS model brings it north of Chicago, and the European computer model brings it, earlier today, was bringing it south of Chicago. I think that storm track has gone a little bit further north. Barometric pressure of 29.2 according to the GFS model. Really strong storm, 29.3 according to the European computer model. Either way, temperatures should initially get at least a little bit warm here in the Chicago area after this unseasonably cold weekend that's headed our way. We might even get some snow in the Chicago area late Friday night, around 4 a.m. Shabbos morning. And again, late Sunday night, early Monday morning, there might be a little bit of a snow shower or so. But then rain moves in, possibly might end as snow again by the middle part of next week. Could be places in the upper Midwest, and they get a significant snowstorm, because this could be a really significant storm system by the mid part of next week. The bitterly cold air coming off the polar vortex, as experts from AccuWeather, polar vortex is expected to split and move into southeast Canada, says experts from AccuWeather. This is not being reported by other weather services, however. But either way, Arctic intrusions, one Arctic intrusion at least, is expected over the weekend for the upper Midwest. Temperatures dropping below zero for places in northern Minnesota, northern Michigan, dropping into the single digits as that air mass moves into the northeast for a large part of the area. But most of the cities that we're familiar with will have lows in the 20s, possibly upper teens, maybe in Boston or so. Then temperatures should warm right back up. This warmth, again, that comes before the cold air gets there, actually, the warmth that's going to be coming after that cold air. There's a little bit of warmth coming before the cold air as well for the East Coast, but the warmth that's going to be coming after that cold air, again, that warmth arrives in the Midwest on Tuesday. It moves on to the East Coast on Wednesday. By the time it hits the East Coast, so it doesn't really hit the Mid-Atlantic area so much. It stays off in the southeast, but temperatures warm again back into the 80s over South Carolina, North Carolina. So we have this heat. It starts off in the 90s, and then it drops into the 80s as it heads into the southern plains, dropping into the 70s as we go into the southern Midwest area, and then temperatures rise back into the 80s as it hits the South Carolina. This heat is going to go furthest north over the plains, making it all the way to South Dakota. It's not going to make it into Iowa. If it did, it would happen on Tuesday, but that's not forecast to happen. There should be enough clouds and moisture to prevent any of that from... It's more than that. It's just not making it there, period. It's not making it there. The clouds and moisture will prevent the temperatures from reaching the 80s, even in the warmest spots, unless you get into the Gulf Coast states where that's kind of normal. You have temperatures in New Orleans, Louisiana, low to mid-80s. In fact, close to record warmth is expected over there as well, which is pretty remarkable. High temperatures in the southeast, again, probably close to records as well. Temperatures in the 80s, low to mid-80s for the Carolinas once again. The mid-Atlantic area, it's not clear. It doesn't look like that warmth is going to make it. Temperatures, the temperature, however, might make it into the low 70s. And you never know, if winds come, downslope winds develop off of those mountains right next to Baltimore, you could get a quick warm spell. You never know about that. So that's something to monitor for later on next week. If it would happen, it would happen Wednesday, maybe Thursday for the Baltimore area. So we have record warmth again for this country. The storm system now slowly moves away. We're under a cutoff low. This is a low pressure system which is located away from the jet stream. It's cut off from the jet stream, so it's moving very slow. It's also weakening. It's falling apart as well, but it's going to consolidate again and intensify as it moves much further east. We spoke about the South Pole, well, not really the South Pole. We spoke about these places in Antarctica receiving unprecedented heat, too extreme to be explained by climate change. We also spoke about the United States. What we did not speak about is what happened in the North Pole area, where temperatures are almost hitting 32 degrees. We have areas in the Arctic that got up to 39 degrees, and that's also happening. This happened last week. It's also happening because of an atmospheric river coming out of the tropics due to a storm system that has a barometric pressure of approximately what it is at Hurricane Hurricane Sandy, 931 millibars, which translated into the barometric pressure system we use here in America, inches in mercury. I wish I knew what that was. I would approximate that would be. Let's see. You have probably about every 0.3. It goes down one every 0.3. You go. Let's say that's 70 divided by 3. You're looking at 23. So would that be about 27? I think that would be less than 28. Maybe even 27.7, 27.8, something like that. It would be interesting to look up. Maybe somewhere between 27.8 or 20, under 28, I think. That's what it would be. You could easily look that up, 931. That was a record, by the way, for the Greenland area. That's a storm system that is developed originally. That was actually a storm system that formed off the East Coast, and it moved all the way up to the Arctic area, and that's what happened. I was actually, the past couple of weeks, I've been seeing a lot of those things spinning off the East Coast. They actually originate kind of in the Midwest, which those things originate really from the Pacific. So it's kind of interesting how these things move across the world, really, before they fall apart with an occluded front. That's when the cold air from the system is moving so fast. It catches up with the warm air in front of it, which is actually happening right now with the low pressure system here over the southern Great Lakes. But some forecasters, even major forecasters, are forecasting this thing to combine with two other low pressure systems and strengthen again eventually as it moves northeast. With that, we spoke about the other day a very efficient way of solving the excessive greenhouse gases, which are more than the aerosols. And that's by, one thing is for aircraft to go into the stratosphere and release salt. That will quickly solve the problem. Scientists agree with this. People are a little bit scared to do it right now. Perhaps some countries maybe should consider doing this, because the system we have right now really doesn't seem too efficient to ask all these countries to reduce their greenhouse gases and people lose jobs. It's on the other hand, to get a whole project that the world's doing and to get everyone together to do something, it's a wonderful thing. Anyways, but the aircraft, that's my vote. Thank you for listening. I wish everyone a wonderful day. It's actually, there's still some hours of the night left. So, but have a wonderful day, wonderful weekend. Wish you a wonderful Shabbos. Take care. Your comments are always welcome. I don't get them. Sometimes I get them, but you could always leave a comment. I heard it's difficult, but if you can do it, that would be wonderful.